the Great Fires is definitely a part of the film. There's many aspects, like I said, but the Great Fires is one of the main ones. And
what do you think? Why do we have a why or theories of why?
It's controversial. The why.
Why is it controversial?
Meaning, I'm sorry, maybe not controversial, but to the government it'd be controversial, but to the public,
the government is a joke. So screw them.
Jim Breuer.
Hey, this is Jim Breuer.
Hello, Michael.
Dude, what's up?
Another day in paradise. That's what's going on. Okay, here's what we have today. I have a guest today. He's been on before. I've been on his thing. Check out this. I got this trailer he sent me. Oh my God. When did he send to this thing? You guys are going to be really into this, especially the bunker crew. So I saw this and I went, Sean, let's talk about this. Can you show the trailer real quick?
Absolutely.
That I sent you? Check out this trailer.
There's a lot of architecture in the world today on every continent of buildings that are much, much larger than you would think people of our height would build.
Cities in America that look as though they were constructed in medieval Europe.
The outside's incredible, but the inside is built like a palace.
I'm not sure if there were even any schools of architecture back then.
How did they know how to do this stuff?
We're at the pinnacle of our civilization now. This is the best it gets. The best we've ever done. Look at the quality of these walls.
Now you'll go through a neighborhood and every home looks the same.
Had we known we're going backwards, everyone would be pissed.
As an architect of 20 years, I like to look at a building as telling its own story. I like to say that stones don't lie.
And they're giving us timelines of like a year. It was built in a year.
The history that we've been told is a lie.
Why would a regular sized human make something so massive?
How did they build that beautiful, beautiful building? Was that building here longer?
I feel like the building was here already.
What was actually in the towers? What kind of technology was up there?
These buildings were built by the prior civilization.
A beautiful, easy, graceful method of travel, flush down the drains.
Nope, no more airships.
And they have to lie to us about it. They had to write the storybooks. We learned about one fire, the Chicago Great Fire.
There were fires in every major city.
Burned to the ground.
It's impossible for any stone building to be burning down.
What's being kept from us is huge.
What a world it must have been.
So there's literally been a cover-up of history more than one way.
Oh, the humanity.
Well, let's bring Sean on to talk about it.
Hey guys,
what's up, Sean? How you doing?
What's up, man? Nice to see you. How you doing, everybody?
Yeah.
Hi to your wonderful audience, man.
Thank you. So tell me about this. Who are you part of this thing, or did you put this together?
Yeah. So I started a fundraiser a while back for the film project, and right away, the great Stu Peters wanted to get involved with it, so I accepted, and we'll be making films in the future too. But as soon as I accepted it, we came in and we just wanted to hit this hard, man. So I started traveling to meet the great minds of this topic. They've been researching this for many years, including the architect in the film, which, I mean, you know, just wait for the film, man. It comes out Saturday. But it
comes out Saturday?
It comes out Saturday, yeah, on Rumble, on the Stu Peters Network exclusively. So go check out that world premiere. Everybody see Died Suddenly. So Stu Peters is bringing the old world order. We've teamed up now, and it's going to be a good long future of waking people up together. So, but this one, man, this one was hard for me, Jim. It was a lot of research. I feel like I probably could have made 3 of these films if you give me another year. There's so much information, and I'm like, how can I approach this from like a 90-minute documentary? How do you put all this information in? And you can't is the answer. So what I'm trying to do in this film is kind of an introduction for the people that don't really know one way or the other. They heard some things, maybe, it's interesting to say the least. Well, this film will be perfect. The 101 aspect of what they did, what they covered up, from giants to technology. There's so many there's so many angles on why they burned every city in America.
See, that's something that we just brought up at the last bunker. And everyone I've talked to about that and watched that podcast goes, oh my God. And you have the bananas that go, that's because everything was made in wood. And, you get people that don't even want to think. But no, what was the purpose of that? Those weren't little fires. Those were massive, burn the city down to the ground fires. Do you have does it touch on that at all in this movie?
Yes. The Great Fires is definitely a part of the film. There's many aspects, like I said, but the Great Fires is one of the main ones. And
what do you think? Why do we have a why? Or theories of why?
It's controversial, the why.
Why is it controversial?
Meaning, I'm sorry, maybe not controversial, but to the government it'd be controversial, but to the public,
the government is a joke. So
I know. There's a few angles we could go with it. I look at it from the angle of kind of realistic in terms of research. You might want to put your sunglasses on real quick, but I'll just say DEW. We all have heard of that. I'll just leave it there. DEW, okay?
DEW.
Yes, the weapons, okay? The weapons.
Yes. Okay, like what's going on now in Hawaii and
exactly. That's been going on for a long time. It seems like they had the technology then. There's nothing new under the sun, like we always say. History repeats itself. It seems like something happened in the late 1700s, early 1800s. It seems like everything was wiped out. Something weird happened. Obviously, we're not being taught about it. And in my opinion, this country was founded by not good men. There's no Columbus story in the real approach here, guys.
I'm gonna have to agree with that. I'm not buying the whole Columbus discovered America and then we came here at the Pilgrims and blah blah blah. I'm starting to feel there was something definitely a little different going on, but
Well, if you think about it, if we're evil men and we find this land, whether via airship or sea, however they found it and it was already built. Everything was built out. It was buried in mud, it seems like, or buried in something. It seems like it was all buried. And they dug up a lot of these buildings, and then they destroyed the ones they didn't want to use for themselves. Think about the government buildings. Think about your city hall building. Think about your state capitol building. Think about any.
Stop right there.
Yeah.
Stop right there what you're saying, because I want people to think about what you're saying. I've always thought about when you walk into some of the government buildings, they're massive. Huge. Absolutely massive inside. Old churches are massive inside. Are you saying, is your theory is people came here and all this was already here?
And that's my opinion, but I will show you some stuff in the film.
Okay.
To at least see that you can understand my opinion on that, because there's photos of.
Yeah.
I'll just pick on San Francisco. There's a photo in San Francisco, and it's weird because it's a panoramic. I thought that was new technology. No, panoramic, super crisp, high def shot from I think the 1860s, give or take 5 years there. But the 1860s, San Francisco's completely empty. Everything's built, but you don't see one human being in sight, and everything looks like it's like buried and like it just was left there. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they start having these world fairs, and people go, "Well, what's going on with the world fairs? Those are weird." And it's like, well, if you think about it, right? If we're evil people and we find all this land and we're like, this can be ours. Let's call it Freemasonry. Let's call ourselves. What at that point, right? Call themselves Freemasons. We found all this. And they don't lie, Jim. They put founded in 1898 half the time. They put it on there. It's just in one ear, out the other with people. But they did find it, in my opinion, and they destroyed the ones that go against their narrative and their Rockefeller history books. They got to destroy those, because if they kept everything, and now think about the World Fair, those were the biggest buildings in America at the time. Huge buildings that they tell us they threw those up in a couple years or less. I'm talking about massive sized theme parks with full electricity, wireless electricity. Explain that. I mean, they had these, and what I think is that the World Fairs it was just an excuse to say, hey, look, we're going to build a few shitty buildings around here. Like, we're going to build a few buildings with like clown faces and like amusement park style buildings. You could tell they look like crap. Okay, so that's modern day, architecture back in the 1800s. But all the other palaces, they said, oh yeah, we built those too. The reason they said we built it all now is so they can bring them all down. Those were the biggest cities in America. I think those were ancient, the ancient downtown areas, the ancient, huge monument, just structures that they say it's made out of temporary material. But when you look, and you'll see this in the film, dude, that's stone and marble palaces. There's nothing temporary about it. But they had to make that excuse that we built all this for a fair. Everyone from outside the world, possibly outside of Antarctica, if you know what I mean. Who knows where these people came from? But there's hundreds of thousands of people coming to these fairs to trade technology or do whatever. I think they just found a bunch of technology in America and had auctions, burned it all down, made sure the rest of the cities were getting rebuilt, build back better. Nothing new under the sun.
Huh.
I know that was really fast, but
So,
fast.
all right. So while you're talking,
That's just my opinion, though, boss. I mean, it seems.
No, I know it's all opinions. It's all great conversation and great, because I always wondered about that too. Even when I go to Europe and I look around there and I see some of the palaces, I'm like, they're just they are massive. Now I have a hard time wrapping my head around giants, and stuff like I still have a hard time wrapping my head around that. But
why?
I don't know. You know what? It's like a visual thing. It's like I haven't seen anyone that's besides the NBA, anyone that's like 6'8", 7 foot. So those are big human beings.
I got tons of 8 and 9 footers in the film. Don't worry.
Really?
I have tons of skeletons dug up. The Smithsonian was huge into this whole cover up. I think that's why they started. It was two facets. One, the Smithsonian was to come and take the giant bones and dump them or keep them with themselves. And two was now they had this sort of Men in Black style where if you found back then, if you're digging something up in your yard and you find bones, Men in Black are coming. They're taking that shit, because I'll tell you why. This is the whole reason of dinosaurs. This is why they created it. Because if you found giant femurs in your backyard, they're going to come and say it's a Tyrannosaurus whatever. We need this. Here's a check maybe. I don't know how it works, but that's it. But there's thousands of news articles from the late 1800s, early 1900s of them discovering giant human bones, dumping them, disposing them, and then eventually you see the Rockefeller Board of Education start after the asylums were already here, guys. Remember, they had our ancestors already before public school started, so it transitioned into public school. But once public school started, here comes dinosaurs. Here comes the globe too. But I'm just saying, here comes all of this, all these things, and what are in those stories in the book that it's been around for thousands of years? These stories that we've all known, the Greeks have known, the Mayans have known about all this stuff. No, they're stories. So again, it's his story. I'm just breaking down his story. Who's he? Oh, Rockefeller and the goons, man. They came in and they had an agenda for the children in America, our ancestors that were here.
And still do.
They still do, and it's up to this point, it's kind of worked. It's worked through the 90s, that's for sure. We were all plugged in. So it's, as you know, the truth is here and nothing can stop it. So it's just one step at a time. Now with you with giants, once you see the film, again, this film's a 101. So am I interviewing a giant? No. At the same time, I'm collecting information to show people a bunch of doors. And when the film's over, I hope you walk through all those doors, because I'm not bringing you to the door for no reason. There's a lot of things that are valid in this research.
Name some of the doors. that are
Man, okay.
fascinating.
Well, let's start with the architecture in general. Most of these architecture buildings that you spoke of earlier, with these ornate detail and everything, you go to the inside, there's waterfalls and statues and murals and just ceilings up to hundreds of feet in the air that look handmade somehow. And you go, wait, how does this get done? Like, what, did it take them 20 years back then? They got horses and donkeys. What are they doing? But then when you look at their website, the official library's website or the official city hall website or whatever it is, sometimes you'll see a year. Sometimes you'll see 2 years. They're knocking these palaces out. It's like the timeline it makes it more hilarious, but it makes it even a bigger breadcrumb that I think they didn't know we'd be finding this out when they were doing this, because they were faking construction photos too. Well, you'll see that in the film. So they have all these, it's called Victorian photography manipulation. That was the Photoshop of their day. They would go in the dark room and they would start etching out negatives and putting that building there and that building there. And look, we built that here. And look, there was no building there in 1890, but now there's a building in 1901 because we built it. They just take it out. It's some people go, oh, that's far-fetched. It doesn't matter. They were doing that for not bad reasons back then. They were doing postcards. They were doing everything in a Photoshop format from the mid-1800s and on. They had this technology to I guess I'll just call it photoshopping things. Obviously, before the software was out in the 80s, I believe. But, if they give us Photoshop software in the 80s, how long did they have it? Yeah. How long did they have it then?
Well, I've always felt that just with technology in general. I remember when it really struck me was the first time I went to Disney World in Orlando, and you go on that future ride. It looks like a big golf ball, and it was and they kept it way too late. They didn't change it until everything was already there. Yeah. And they'd say in the future they had what societies would look like. They still have it up there, the perfect society, and in the globe, they would say in the future you will talk to your relatives on a computer, and you're FaceTiming with your family, and travel, and how fast travel, and telephones, and this and everything. Now this came out in the 1970s, 80s. So how long did that take to develop, and how long did they really know about it? Even I even think about that, like a phone. Come on, you telling me you didn't have this capability 100 years ago? I'm not buying it.
Well, I found a 1901 artist impression from 1901. It's in the film, and you'll see them with the airships and all that. But then you'll see signs looks like a local business sign that says wireless telephone, and it's 1901. The picture. So whether they had it then or not is debatable, but they're drawing, they're writing about, they're showing you something. So this whole dark mystery of our past is super hidden, Jim. There's a reason we're all taught universally the same history. White people had the Western, and then there was Indians here, and then black people were over here. All these stories, like Lord Jamar is in the film. He's a rapper from Brand Nubian, the old hip hop group from the 90s, Brand Nubian, Dead Presidents. Dead Press, but he was telling me, now this part didn't make the film because I didn't have enough time to include 1,000 chapters, but he did mention to me though, that, he doesn't even think that there were slaves the whole slave ship in America. And he told me that, if anything, it's everything's opposite. The black people were already in America. I guess there was Moors. It was called the Moors, the Moor family, Moorish architecture. And when you look up Moorish architecture, you see this style of architecture that we're even referencing. So everything's really weird. I didn't want to touch on that because I don't have that much evidence to go that route, really. But at the same time, it's interesting to hear that from an African-American man that does a lot of research. So it made me feel as if our entire history book is Disney, man. It's just created. And these characters, whether it be Aristophanes, Columbus, doesn't matter who the character is. It seems like they just drew him that week. Who are you going to draw this week, Bill? All right, draw him. We'll put him in as the Greek god. They're just creating things to have this universal educational board that teaches us all the same things, so we all grow up believing the same lies. And now that lies are being exposed from every facet in life, this is just one of many, as you know. But this is a big one to me because this will ensure that you can definitely throw that history book out forever. It's not real. And we have to start over as a civilization. We have to look back and go, wait a minute. They pushed evolution so hard on us as kids and Big Bang and all that. They pushed it so hard with dinosaurs to the point where we had to accept it. But now if you look back and go, wait a minute, people were 9 and 10, 12 feet tall back then. Okay, so that's not evolution. We're devolving. The trees are smaller. The oxygen levels are smaller. The animals are smaller. I have photos of petrified animals that look like they've been there for 1,000 years, but they're giant. They're huge. And sometimes people call them mountains or this or that, and it kind of looks like a petrified old castle. So it's really, there's a lot of holes, rabbit holes in this, man. But from an overall aspect, it just, from a basic standpoint, they lied about history and covered it up because of who was here before us. That's why. You know, we had very advanced civilization technology. Free energy is number one, though, Jim. Remember that. There was free energy. Yeah, free. Crazy.
Well, that's the thing that blows my mind. I know, I saw something, Sean, where the buildings, churches, and certain all the poles and all that, and why it was like that is because they absorb free energy. And I never understood, like I never really thought about that. But when I lived in Manhattan, every time a thunderstorm would roll through, we'd have a thunderstorm party because I had a clear view of the Empire State Building, and we'd all wait. Because sure enough, every thunderstorm come through, if it was going over Midtown Manhattan, eventually the lightning would strike the pole on the Empire State Building.
Every time.
And then someone just told me, like, that's to distract light. And then another person said, no, dude, we have free energy and they know how to, and they're just conning the world. I went, what? He goes, what do you think happened? That's energy. And these are things that people don't really think about or put a lot of thought into, to think about what is energy and how to consume energy and how to manifest it and how to maneuver energy. And so that blew my mind, where like, yeah, why do they all have these poles, and why are they designed a certain way, and are they catching energy? And they knew how to catch the energy, and then what they do with it? What they do with the electricity? You know, someone laughed in my face and he goes, "So you really think Ben Franklin discovered electricity with a key and a kite? You really think that?" And and then someone was able to figure, you think that's where it started? I'm like, I don't know. That's what we're taught.
Think about what you just said, Jim. The key and the kite. That's the ether. That's proving what we're saying. It's free energy.
Right.
You could do today with a drone and then a copper wire, put the drone up a couple 100 feet, touch that wire, you're going to feel it because God gives us all abundance. Okay. It's all free.
Yes.
It's man that has come in and charged us for it. Think about what you're doing when you plug in something in your electric port, in your outlet, right? You're plugging it in. People don't, like you said, in one ear, out the other. It's just over everybody's head. They're used to this process, but it has to go through so many different processes and through a meter so you could be charged with it. But you have to ask yourself, where is that coming from? Where is that electricity port coming from? It's basically the same technology. What they did was they have these electric harnesses devices in every major city, and underground it's all connected to meters and goes right through it. It's crazy that when you think about it, we can do that ourselves. Like, we can go out in our backyard, if you have a yard, and figure this out for ourselves. There's Tesla coils. I know people in Mexico that use real Tesla coils. They power everything in their house. So it's free. So it's coming back around. We're eventually going to be alive to witness this again, because this whole evil cabal is crumbling before our eyes. Some of it can be scary at times, but it's ending. So the actual revolution is kind of maybe going back to ancient days of love and harmony and frequencies and balance, because these buildings, not only were they pulling the ether in, giving the free energy, they had instruments in the buildings, whether it be the organs, the rose windows would kind of act as a speaker to emit the organs, the frequencies out to the community. It was all about beauty and representing God's creation with your own, and trying to. That's why a lot of their buildings were lined up with different stars. It always lines up perfectly. The sun setting here, it goes right through, right? Like they would always build their buildings, whether it be giants or fallen angels. I don't know who built them. I wasn't there. So I don't even speculate on that necessarily. I wasn't there.
Right.
But I do know that we didn't, because we wouldn't fake construction photos. We wouldn't fake that we built the World's Fairs. We would say, look, those buildings have been there a while, whatever. But you can't do that when you already have a Columbus history and a whole thing painted out. You got to start torching these buildings. And that, like you said earlier, I want your audience listening right now, just type in your city. And I'll even go as far as saying this. Even if you live in a small city, like Los Angeles is a big city. What's a small city? Meaning Long Beach.
Irvine.
Yeah,
Long Beach.
Irvine, Long Beach. That's a small city. Still look that up is the point. Still look that city up is the point. The small cities. Look up any city you live in, including, of course, your major. But I guarantee you it was burned down. And because if they had these World Fair type buildings, these huge palaces, beautiful. I mean, it's unbelievable architecture that went into it. If they had them everywhere, you can't sell this story of America. You can't. It's impossible. Same thing with giants. You can't have them in this story. So they have continued to mythologically say, they put giants in the category with Sasquatch and all these other things. And then when you start looking at these categories, there's legitimacy to everything. So there's more proof, if not abundance of proof of giants, opposed to absolutely no proof of dinosaurs besides the stories we're taught. And
I never bought dinosaurs. I
Yeah, I could tell you haven't. You're a smart guy, but those that have, I think it's not their fault in the sense it's same thing with space. It's you fall in love with these things as a child, just like Santa.
Correct.
Right? You fall in love with it. The Easter Bunny, everybody, that's how we are.
Yeah.
It's just, I blame the parents at that point, right? And it starts now with parents now. I don't mean back then. We were all in the Matrix. It starts now. You can not teach them the opposite, but tell them that there's another way here. You don't have to throw them in public indoctrination camps and then try to get them out of it when they're 18. It's like I would open some of their minds now to other alternative things, because they are the future of the world. We can't keep repeating history. We have to change it. And I think that holding extreme accountability to the liars at least for me, that's my first goal, is to shed a light on the deception in a film format. We're all used to films. This is how we got brainwashed with stuff to begin with growing up.
That's right. Right.
So if I can brainwash society with truth and it comes from love, God's going to take it from there. I mean, that's all I can do as a man, is wake up other men and women and children, hopefully, to take our country back. And then we can worry about taking the rest of the world back after that. I'm trying to take our country back first. I'm not worried about any other countries at the moment. I'm worried about ours. No offense, just saying.
Yeah, no, I am too. I am definitely deeply concerned, because my gut doesn't give me good feelings, and I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why. And I'm trying to figure it out. Like, is there something coming? Is there some? I don't know.
It's the election. Everybody feels it. It's an election year. You can't not feel it, especially from the last election time. It's like all these things that are happening.
I think no matter what, like I neither one of us are real political guys. Some people may try to pinpoint me as political or what, which I'm not, but to me, it's all a big, I'm not for government anymore. I really would like to see the world, like people get wound up this war and this war. And I said, well, and I always reference Bob Marley, but when he said all governments are illegal, when Bob Marley said all governments are illegal, that resonated in my head over and over and over again. And it made me think, we are born, we got to pay for everything. There's laws for everything. And we don't get to decide if we're going to go murder or get murdered, and we'll send our children to a war, and they use the word freedom to sacrifice your children. At the end of the day, the word freedom is second. And yes, there's people that have, and it's very touchy because I don't want to hurt any of their feelings or piss them off, because it wasn't their fault. Like my father and cousins and people that I've met in the military, it's not their fault that they are going to battle for their country, labeled as brave. But at the end of the day, what's more disgusting, disturbing, and pure evil is why? Why would you? It's like a fight. You mean you're going to have a fight. There's going to be people around us as we start to go, you know what? Fuck you, Sean. Yeah, you want to fuck? Most people, depending on the neighborhood you're in, will come in and go, hey, man, chill out. Hey, come on. Hey, look,
cut that
no.
out. Yeah.
Cut it out. What's the problem? What's the issue? Walk away. It's not worth it.
Yep.
But yet, because we say, oh, this country supposedly got attacked, and this supposedly is happening, and let's say it is happening, now we got to go and support. Why? You support. If you want to do it, you go over there. I'm a strong believer. I've said on Rogan. I've said it at the RFK Jr. comedy show. I say it everywhere. Let us people get together and hash shit out. And we're not going to pay $1 billion. And we're not going to need a draft. And we're not going to, our plan we will figure out the piece of what you holes and you savage. And I keep telling people, even you conservatives, you better wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
The people that you think are representing you, I'm telling you point blank, they're not. They are part of the professional wrestling team. They all, if not all, a lot of them have dual citizenship.
Yep.
Nobody should have dual citizenship anywhere.
Yeah, look at Biden's cabinet.
So right there, you're being deceived. And when we need to support, no, you need to support peace.
Yep.
That's what you need to. You need to fight to the death for peace. So with that said, do you think? All right. So when I took a trip, we were in Egypt.
Oh, nice.
And the thing that I found interesting was they're still finding cities, even while I was there, underground. And they say, well, it's from the Nile River and it all got flooded and all that. And the way they do it is I went to 2 different incredible architecture, like the most beautiful colors you can imagine, but they dug them out.
Correct.
So they dug down and found these massive temples that I witnessed. And in the neighborhoods where, like, obviously the tribes are like, we don't want you here. And you had to cipher through the tribes and it kind of met. But,
can I touch on
so? Yeah, please go.
Oh, I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to add, while you're saying that, to anyone listening, to go and locate that downtown old-looking building that those types of buildings, which ones we're kind of talking about in a sense, I hope. And go walk up to them. Look on the side. You'll see a door, the top of a door on the ground, the top of an arch on the ground, the top of windows on the ground. So again, when you're talking about them digging stuff up, same thing here. And a lot of these buildings in America, especially the old world buildings, they look top heavy. They don't look symmetrical to our level of ground right now. And I will give a film spoiler. We went to the Museum of Science and Industry, the Field Museum, in Chicago. One of the buildings that they said, it was in the fair, but we'll keep that one. It's like, okay. So it's an old world building that they left in Chicago. Chicago probably had some of the most. But the Field Museum, the security guard there, we're talking and everything, and it becomes to a point where we get it out of him that there are underground tunnels underneath this building. All the old world buildings in Chicago connect to one another. And then I found underground actual photos. God, it took me days to find underground photos of Chicago with what he's talking about. So I feel as if these buildings, any old world building, you yourself can go up to and find the evidence that they were dug up. You can see it yourself, and then you can walk in the building. And I guarantee if you're walking in one of these buildings, you know what you're doing? You're walking up little stairs to get in the front door. Because when you walk in that front door of the museum or the city hall or the courthouse, you're probably on the 3rd or 4th floor, in my opinion.
Interesting.
Possibly higher. And I mean, the guy in the Field Museum security guard said that when you're in the basement, it's not the basement, it's even lower. You can hear water hitting the walls on each side of the building. And sometimes it floods because it's all connected under the ground. New York has it too. A lot of these, Seattle, you look, even Arizona, I was in Arizona. Why are the buildings, why do they look like they were dug up? And they just kind of put like casing, cement casing around the building, like, yeah, that's ours. Oh, just put founded in 1890 on there. You'll be good, Bill. Like, that's all they have to do. And then on the website, it says, yeah, some guy named Tom and Donkeys Incorporated, he just threw that up in 18 months. And usually there's a fire story with that's another thing I'll tell you. Every old world building has a fire story, meaning the ones they kept, they've also lied about. Oh, no, that burned down in the same fire. With all of them, but we rebuilt that in 1892. Trust us.
So Sean, is the just so I'm clear, the this is so mind blowing. So this would be more of the theory of this is after the Indians, after the natives. Like, where the natives in all this?
It's a great question, actually, man. Obviously, that's the story we're told. I did find an original picture of, them back in the late 1800s, just kind of showing it. It kind of looked staged to me. But I didn't go down that hole. Again, there's so many holes to prove that it wasn't Indians here. It was, that's another 6 months of editing and researching. So I couldn't do that section. I'm trying to do a different approach. But I just want to know my opinion. I feel as if that they were from somewhere else as well. I think that America was a melting pot. Think about the orphan trains. Think about the Cabbage Patch Babies back in the day. Kids were being bought and sold. Trafficking was legal. There were propaganda to buy children. Buy a black baby, buy an Asian baby, buy a white baby, ship them now, come pick them up. They got photos from the 1800s of these children as cabbages growing in a field and someone buying them. You'll see some of these slides in the film. But it's sad because what it seems as if this might be far-fetched for some people, but I'm just gonna keep it real with you, Jim, of how I feel at least, that this country was empty, it was founded, and they populated it artificially. I think they brought in children from every aspect of the earth, including lands we're not told about, that we can't keep forgetting about. We don't know where we came from. We don't know how we got here. And BJ Penn, the great MMA legend, is in the film, and he talks about that with Hawaii, that they don't know how they got here. Nobody in Hawaii knows how they were there. There's this little state in the middle of nowhere. How'd that happen? So, but when you look back in history, I didn't cover this, but I'll tell you, there's a continent called some conspiracy, what do you call it? Speculations. I don't really touch in a film setting because I don't want this huge speculation the whole time. I want facts. But the speculation of a continent called MU. It's kind of even more validity than Atlantis, but about similar. That this is where Hawaii was a part of this continent, and there was a flood. There was an event, a cataclysm, electric cataclysm, a torching of the entire Earth's grid electric system. I don't know who did it. Was it God? Was it the devil? Was it man? I don't know. Nobody, in my opinion, can know that. We weren't there. But at the same time, you see the evidence of it. So if we were reset, how many times have we been reset? Where do we really come from? And it looks like America was like this melting pot. It seems like they were bringing in orphans from all colors, all races, dropping them off in asylums, and they're being taught the new education, the new story of America. And if they disagreed or if the parents were not on board, the parents went to the real asylums. And it continued to happen until they had a complete society, populated society. If you go back to Seattle in the 1880s, they say there's 3,000 people living there. If there's 3,000 people living in all of Seattle in the 1880s, why are there giant buildings with technology on top of them? Pure brick and stone buildings everywhere in these 1880-ish photos. That means for me, the entire community were experienced architects. The entire community of 3,000 people built the entire city in a few years. Well, that's impossible. We both know that. And not only that, but how'd they have this skill trade back then with their wooden cranes and their horses? Like, where are they getting taught how to hand carve stone and marble and carve things and design waterfalls that connect to the ether and like all this weird stuff with no technology? And then I'll go one further. Then you look in more depth and say, who actually built this building? What's the real story? It's hard to find because it's a lie. But once you find the real story of who built this building, most of the time, Jim, it's prisoners or slaves that threw them up. So now you're talking about people that don't want to work, that are enslaved, but you're going to sell me that they all have architectural experience to build that? Now, I mean, again, it all crumbles. Once you start cross-referencing their narratives, their story, and then looking at the timeline, no, that it's impossible. That's why I took on this challenge. It's kind of a new topic for me. This has been going strong for about a year now, just nonstop, traveling, going, looking myself, going, okay. You know, I don't put my name on some rabbit hole that's just kind of like, no, this is legit, Jim. And I advise everybody to do their own research because I can't figure all this out in one film. I can't figure this out in probably 10 years. It's going to take all of us collectively to wake up to this and to basically rewrite our own history books with truth, though, with our real ancients, with the giants and with the technology. And again, even the weapons that they use on us now, they had then. It's kind of one of these things where it's like, did they just find this land and the technology and resell it back to us in doses? And get rid of the buildings that would ruin their new story for the world. I mean, for the country at least, but it's still sold in the world. And what were you taught in school, Jim, about the? Were you taught about any great fires other than Chicago?
Never.
Isn't that crazy? And that's crazy.
It is always crazy.
I always feel like someone's going to answer, yeah, no, we were taught about the Great New York Fire. Or wherever you were raised. It's one of these things where once you see even that fact.
I agree.
Every city was burned to the ground, and some of them were way bigger than the Chicago fire.
Oh, yeah. That's the first one that made me, when I heard that, and I started looking, and I started telling my friends, I'm like, look up Great Fire of wherever. That is the first time where I started really going, okay, who was burning this all down, and what was their plan? And what was what was the purpose? They burnt the whole country down, but they did it in a manner where it's like you couldn't connect the dots. You didn't have television. You didn't have all that. So it's like if it just happened in one city, you're only hearing it in that city and what happened there. And then if it's over here, you're not even connecting the dots. Like, wow, 4 years ago they burnt here. 6 years ago this went down. 10 years ago this went down. Very interesting. What the hell is really going on right now?
Well, and you could look at it in steps too. My architect, Matthew Smith, in the film was mentioning about, he's in Seattle, so he was more talking about Seattle. But Seattle, once Seattle burned down, I think it was like a month later, the city over there next to that burned down to the ground. And then a month later or something, like the next city over in Washington burned down. You see this pattern of burn that down, burn that down, burn that down, burn that down. Because if all these cities in America look like, you know, Germany buildings or Rome, can you know, in school, like put yourself back in school. How could you believe the Pilgrims and the Western and all this stuff and people on donkeys and so? But if every building looked like the Taj Mahal outside or something, it's like you'd be like, wait a minute, what's going on? So when they get rid of 95% of them, and they put up these wood and glass, steel, you know, just garbage Dunkin' Donut looking buildings. And they surround you with modern architecture with what's the last 50 years or less, you know. Well, then that little palace just looks like looks like an old building. People don't really process it like you would think. They just walk by it.
No,
They say, oh, that's
you're
lovely.
right.
That's beautiful. But when you walk in, Jim, you feel this other energy. I can't explain it. I don't know if you feel it. And I'm not talking about churches. You can walk in a city hall. If it's an old building, you feel different. That's just my opinion.
I agree. No, you're absolutely right. Even going to Italy, and I looked at the Colosseum and the old, the Roman Empire, or whatever. And you're like, how old is this thing? And they were able to build this entire stadium and the hallway and the basements and like, okay, well, how come they weren't able to do that? So we went from that to horse and buggy to America. Like, it really, I can't wrap my head around it.
And that's why you're confused, though. This is why most people get confused with it. Because you go to Europe, right, like you said, or Germany, wherever, Italy, and you go, when was that built? And it says like 1100 AD or something.
11.
And so,
exactly.
So it kind of just goes over your head. But then when you come back to America and you see the same looking building with the same materials and the same energy when you walk in, and it says 1902, then you look and you go, okay, 1902. I've seen pictures from 1850, so I want to see 1902. I want to see the building half constructed, Jim. I want to see them inside the building putting up the statues. I want to see them inside the building connecting the waterfalls and doing all these things and up there painting the murals. And I want to see half and half. I want to see, meaning progression.
Yes.
None. Especially from the inside of the buildings, any of them. There's none. There's no the inside's better than the outside. I'm sorry. It just is. And there's no construction from the inside. Now, the outside, you got a few methods. Like I said, Victorian photography, manipulation with the darkroom. That's number one. Right. Detroit Publishing Company was known for that. Look them up back in the day. But then they also just can do a model. They could do popsicle sticks, right. Whatever models they did. Walt Disney did it all the time with stuff. They would. There's different ways to manipulate things from the early 1900s, and they did them all. And once I saw them all, kind of like with NASA's fake images, once you see enough fake images, you go, okay, I can't look at someone and let someone go. The devil's advocate goes, oh, well, look at this one. This one's kind of real though. But I just saw 100 fake ones. There's no reason to fake a construction photo. Look, Jim, if me and you were alive in 1898 and we're knocking out this palace in New York, just huge palace, or the Singer Building was a nice skyscraper that they said was built in less than a year, apparently. Okay, so we're going to knock that out in less than a year, and we're not going to take any pictures of the inside of our palace, of the beauty of the lights and the carvings. There's no progression photography done, guys. But there's going to be one or two of the outside. You see a little thing on there, a little scaffolding. By the way, scaffolding does not count as a construction photo. I'm sick of people sending me stuff. Look at this photo. I go, the building's done. They put scaffolding up. You know why? They took a picture for construction. The scaffolding, they're painting these buildings, especially the World's Fairs. They'd spray paint them white, because they want them to seem like they just built them. So yeah, you would spray paint old limestone and marble, destroy it, because you want the feel for your fair that it's brand new for the people coming. They were selling the rest of the world that America, they just built all this. We found new land and we built this all. Come and trade technology with us. We found electric scooters here. We found electric, what do you call them? Like, what's in Back to the Future where he's just coasting?
Yes.
Yeah, hoverboards and stuff. They had all that back then. They had electric trolleys. Why are we on wired trolleys 50 years later? It was wireless. Because they don't want you to know that you can have free energy, because big oil's done. That's it. Big oil's another big part of this, obviously.
Oh,
Rockefeller, they're not playing games, man. They had a plan, they executed, and it worked. But now it's crumbling. That's all I could say. It's just crumbling now. And as time goes on, I could be wrong in something in this film. I'll admit it. But we're all trying to figure this out. It's something hard to figure out because when you're fed lies your whole life and you go, wait a minute, they lied about all this. It's like you have to start over, Jim. Like, okay, let's try to put these pieces together. What do you know? What do you know? What did you read? What did you find? Where's your newspaper clippings? This is why I traveled to meet the great minds, the Michelle Gibsons, the Dr. Narcolongo. These are like Old World Florida is a great channel. My Lunch Break on YouTube. Are you kidding me? It's huge. That's Kenny Loden. He's in the film. These are the minds of people that I call just hardcore researchers, man. It's 24/7 studying every aspect of their deception, and they have brought it to a level that I can understand as a newbie in this field and go, oh shit, if that's right. I did this so many times, Jim. I hit pause, I go, if that's right, I swear. I look and it's right. And I go, oh my God. That's why I'm just like, I got to put a film together just for people that are interested or have heard something or just, they don't believe Rockefeller's BS. So they want to hear something else. And this is the something else, especially with airships, man. Did you know you could fit like a couple thousand people in those comfortably? There was like bars up there, dance floors. They can have malls up there. People think that you're only secluded to that little cockpit on the bottom of the airship. No,
right.
That's the pilots, and I guess back in the day that'd be the first class, but to be in there with the pilots. But there's a lot of stuff going on top, and those things would travel a little faster than we were sold on, and those things could travel forever without refueling or anything. You're talking about helium, possibly ether involved, mercury stuff they had, and mix. They had this technology of air travel that wipes the floor with ours now. Who wants to go wait on an airplane, get into that, sit down? Are you really that comfortable? Doesn't matter how often you fly. No one likes that. No one likes being flown 600 miles an hour across the country and you're just like, ugh. It's like you try to enjoy it, but it's not as luxurious feeling as one of the older airships traveling around in those. It was like a paradise in the sky, man. And I can't stress that enough. That's a big piece of technology that I want back. So I put it in the film because I want it back. The problem is the lack of helium. I mean, you can go to your party's balloon store right before they close. I can almost guarantee you they ran out of helium. You know why? Because they're limited supply for those party store chains and a few other corporations. 99% of it's owned by NASA. 99% of the helium. So meaning, how can we go build our own airships or bring this back? We have to dissolve NASA. I've done work on trying to get that done anyways. But, they got to send up all their satelloons. They need all the helium, or it's both. Multifaceted. They need the helium for their satellites. And then the other side of that is we don't get any, because I think we can utilize helium way better than people might think. It's not just for party balloons, guys. They were using this and the ether and different technologies of the past. And I'm sure that our leaders are still using this technology behind our backs.
I was going to say,
I'm just looking to find some people to watch this film and go, dude, this is crazy. I got to do more research. And then they do it and change the world. That's what I'm doing. I'm just trying to inspire people to do their own research. I'm going to bring it to some doors, whether it be technology, orphans, architecture, giants, just some of the old world status of how this world was lived. A little bit of speculation, of course. You have to. I wasn't there. But it does seem as if the world fairs were just an excuse to tear them all down.
It's a little weird.
If you say
it's a little weird. The more I learn about it, it doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I have to absorb all this. I'm starting off slow, and I'm going to start with this movie. I can't wait to watch this whole thing. So it comes out
Saturday, the 25th. So I don't know if this is
Saturday, 25th of May.
Yes.
Old World Order.
Find it on Rumble and Stu Peters Network.
So you can watch it on Rumble. You can watch the whole movie on Rumble.
It's going to be free in high def. Yep.
Amazing. I'm going to have a party and make my kids watch this thing.
Yeah, it'd be great, man. There's a couple, it's PG-13, a couple words, whatever, but.
Oh, I didn't worry about that.
I'm just warning the audience. I know how it is, but, if you say it and that was your emotion, it makes the film. I don't like censoring people, so.
We've had great conversations. I loved having a conversation with you. You consistently blow my mind I'm just gonna have to look into some stuff. I'm always about the why. Why? Is it control? Is it deception? It's probably all the above.
Everything.
Like why? Are they all hiding it somewhere? Are they on another, like, why? And that's I can't wait to check it out. You've blown my mind enough. So Sean, where can people follow you? I know you got your own podcast. You have a website.
Yeah, well, actually, I took a break from the podcast to do the film. Hopefully I come back soon, but I think I'm going right into another film with Stu, so we'll see. But, my website's hibbelerproductions.com, HIBBELER productions.com.
Awesome.
If you want to check out the trailer, owofilm.com. Again, it comes out this Saturday, the 25th. Rumble, Stu Peters Network, world premiere. Share it, watch it. Learn. Again, Jim, you're going to like it because it's specifically made. I mean, I could actually say this. It's specifically made for someone like you in the predicament you're in. Open-minded,
yes,
interested, and you want to know a little bit more before you dive in.
Correct.
This is the little more before you dive in. This doesn't prove, I can't say it doesn't prove anything. It proves a lot of things, but it takes you to the limit of going, now it's up to you to keep looking into that field, because I'm not gonna bring it up in the film if you're not gonna be able to find an abundance of evidence of it. You will.
Got it.
It's all there. So thank you for having me, Jim. I love you, brother. I love your audience. I love your
you too,
show.
man.
I love all you guys. So I appreciate it very much.
Mutual love. Sean Hibbeler, everybody. Thank you so much. Don't forget to watch this film, Old World Order. You can watch it on Rumble. Here's the deal. I am open to all conversation, all history, all whatever, because I don't buy any of it anymore. It's been proven more and more and more what is fake. What have we learned between our pharmaceutical, between medical, between government, between news, all of it. I feel the more we discover it, the more it's really just one big cancer that's trying to keep humanity from just growing in our natural process, which is just knowing what truth is, looking after one another, living back in the world of love and understanding and how to create things for one another and give rather than take, hold, enslave you. You must do a paycheck and money. Money's the root to all evil. I don't care what anyone says. It was a system. It's a fake system. We may be in one of the greatest fake systems of all societies. It's bizarre. So many of us are waking up and discovering more. So some of you, it may be too much. That's okay. That's all right. Go back to your ball game and go back to whatever you're watching on Netflix. All good. People like me, I love talking with people like Sean, expand my mind. I look into things a little bit more. I have to wrap my head around a lot of things that he said. I won't deny anything he said because I have to wrap my head around it. I can't. It takes time for me to visualize. But I will take that time and I won't shut it down. And that's the only way we're all going to grow. Just be open-minded. That's all you got to do. You don't have to agree. You don't have to disagree. Just be open-minded to think about it in a little different manner, especially when they're coming from an agenda of not purposely trying to trick you. And listen, he ain't making money on this. Trust me. They're not making tons of money. They're not making money. He's not walking away with $100 million project. This is all passion. I've known him for a while. This is passion. And thank God there's people out there that are willing to be passionate to pass along truth, honor, and respect. Go out there and crush it this week. We'll see you next week on the Breuniverse. Have a good one, Mike.
Later, dude.
This is Jim Breuer, and I got my own Patreon page, and hopefully you'll check it out. Live comedy concert streamed once a month. Early access to the Breuniverse podcast every single week, and have bonus footage and bonus segments. I promise you I'm not going to let you down. Go check out my official Jim Breuer Patreon page, and I'll see you there.